Well, we are sitting currently on the ranch that my great grandfather moved to in 1919. His family moved here a long distance from Stratford. It's where they started business. I couldn't even give you a date, somewhere after the turn of the century, and then they moved. My grandfather was born there in 1913, and then in 1919 they moved here. I am the fourth generation farmer on this ranch for our family. Um, Used to be in the dairy business, just about totally in the dairy business when the family first moved here. That was my grandfather sold the cattle in 1946, and we've just been row crop farmers since then until our first permanent plantings about 8 years ago. So my family has been here. My father, my grandfather, my father, myself, and my wife Susie and our children all attended Buena Vista School. Um, and but the family itself as a whole being involved never changed. When I started to farm a little bit or work on the ranch as a young age, it was my father and my grandfather that were doing the work. My great grandfather was retired at the time, and since then my grandfather was passed on, and my father and I took over, and our son Susie and my son's Greg is now in the farm and on the ranch, and that's his full-time employment now. So the family is going to stay here for a while, God willing, and water willing, and we'll be good. Community involvement really started by just starting to work on the ranch at a young age. Being involved on the farm and out with my dad, following my father around the ranch, I ended up going where he went. And when I was younger, he was involved in the Portuguese celebrations, the TDS celebration, the Our Lady of Fatima celebration. And I would go down with him, and I'd be working down there, not realizing I was volunteering. I thought this was great. I thought it was fun. It was just some place to be that was different than the ranch or different than school. And I met a lot of different people. I was out with the adults. It was great. And as time went on and I grew older, I realized that actually that was volunteerism, or that was, contributing back to your community. Uh, but that fact that it was contributing still wasn't in the mind as it was work or it was a chore. It was still fun. It was still a pleasure. And that's why I was able to move forward and move on to the different organizations that I belong to. Uh, the school board, which was one of my first community involvements, was a natural. When my wife and I had children, uh, we knew where they were going to go to school. They were going to go to Buena Vista School. But not having been associated with it since I was there, not knowing how everything was operating there, I wanted to be more hands-on. A position was available, and I ran, was elected, and had a good hand in the education of both of our children, and that was very important to both my wife and I. After that, of course, they went into high school. High school had its own activities, which led to our starting a program at Tulare Western called the Tulare Western Aquatics Boosters Club. We saw how the football players or the football team had their football boosters, and they fed the kids on game day, and they were around to support the kids and provide for the kids. And swimming, water polo, aquatic sports in general, being a little lesser down the totem pole through the school district, didn't have funding, and any way of getting extra funding for the things that they really needed at the pool was what we were looking for, and we were able to accomplish most of that. I'm very proud of being part of that group. Throughout all that, of course, the kids were involved in soccer. I was never a coach until my daughter's last year. Uh, the head coach needed an assistant coach, so I became an assistant coach. with him, uh, coached a group of all-stars. Or no, I take that back. It wasn't an all-star team. It was the regular AYSO team. Great group of kids, young ladies, 13, 14 years old. To this day, I still see some of them. They can still call me by name or call me coach. It's just an amazing thing, the relationship you get with those people. And it was a long season. We went all the way to the state championships. So yeah, we started in August. We finished, I believe, in May of the next year. But there again, very enjoyable. Had a great time. It was a new experience for me, but I really enjoyed it. Went to a local farmer here who was going to be ending his tenure, wanted to retire from the Tulare Irrigation District. Got in touch with me and asked if I'd be interested in running. He explained everything about it to me. It's one meeting a month. You may have to go to another meeting for something else. It won't be a big deal, not that much of a commitment. All right, I agreed. Well, he short sold it just a little bit. Uh, One board has grown into 5, and I am part of 5 different irrigation districts or irrigation boards, all through my position with the Tulare Irrigation District. So it kind of steamrolled from there, but it really got involved, and I really appreciate my son being around and my dad for allowing me the time to get away and stay involved in those things. It has been rewarding. I have learned a lot. I know about a lot more about our water systems and the availability of it and the restrictions that are put upon it, not by Mother Nature, but everywhere else. And it's not a pleasant fight, but it's a good fight, and it's a fight we need to fight to try and keep our water here and keep our livelihood in agriculture here alive. On the civic fronts, once again, kind of following in my father's footsteps with the California Farm Equipment Show. He was involved, and he was a chairman. And before he was chairman, as he was moving up, I started going down with him and helping whenever I could. It was in school time, so that was an after school and weekend deal. But I got involved there when the event moved from the fairgrounds to its current location at the International Agri Center site. That was when I really became involved. We had a wet year or two then. A lot of time. I was down there a lot. And to my benefit or detriment, whichever the case might be, however you want to look at it, I moved up the ladder very quickly out there, mainly because I happened to be about the only person that was around for most of the time on our grounds committee. And 1984 became grounds chairman, and 89 I was show chairman. So that's just something that's totally rewarding out there, though. I mean, where school board or irrigation districts, our local school board is still farmers, people in agriculture out here. The irrigation districts, you're involved with farmers. Going to the World Ag Expo, as it's named now, people from all walks of life, people that don't really know much about farming, still volunteer out there. And you learn so much more about what's going on around you, how your town operates, how the whole area operates outside of the ag world. And the stories those people tell and the stories that I tell them, we all have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and community service, volunteerism is still fun. In addition to that, my family was involved in the Cabrillo Club, Portuguese civic organization. Its main purposes are to continue the Portuguese heritage and provide scholarships for young people of Portuguese heritage up and down the state of California. Um, since my initial involvement in there, we've become involved in the state organization, attending meetings up and down the state now, not just locally. My wife and I became directors about 10 years ago, and I have since been president of our local club. Um, it's kind of funny. People don't really want to be president of a club, but that particular club, I almost think president's the easiest job on the thing. Everything else involves work of some sort. This is just paperwork and figurehead. I can do that. I might be president again someday. Who knows? The FATIMA and TDS committees, I did that annually for probably 15 years when I was younger. I guess my newest little gig is I'm currently a lector at St. Aloysius Church. Strange way to get into that. My wife told me for years, and actually a few other parishioners have told me for years, that I should be a lector. When my brother, who is a Catholic priest, had his first Mass at St. Aloysius Church here in Tulare, I read readings there, and much of the parish who was there heard me, and ever since then they thought, God, you did such a wonderful job, you should do it regularly. And I never did it. And about a year ago, in our church bulletin was a request for more people to become lectors. My wife hit me up on it again and went down. It's not like you sign up or anything, or you have you have to run for office. If you show up and volunteer at a church, by God, they're going to take you. And it's nice. I thought, speaking in front of people isn't the greatest thing for me. It's not my favorite pastime. But after the first time or two, you get over it, and you don't really look at the crowd. You've learned that, I'm reading out of a book anyway. It's me and Mr. Microphone, and we're good. So I really enjoyed that, and it's certainly something I look forward to. It's a good way to give back to our parish. My wife and I have worked at our parish dinner a little bit over the past several years, but it's a little more personal way of doing it, and it's very gratifying.